Hi Vinu, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Very well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to talk to you about sustainable design practices. I feel like everyone talks about sustainability, and Friday being World Earth Day, we thought who else to talk to than the best in the space, you. And so that's why I want to talk to you today. Yeah, sorry, oops. Okay, let's position this properly so it doesn't fall off. Okay, lovely. So we thought who better than to talk to you about sustainable design practices. And yeah, so thank you so much for being here.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for
Lovely. So my first question for you is going to be, I know Wallmakers has a really interesting story, the name Wallmakers. So would you want to elaborate and tell everyone listening as to why you chose the name Wallmakers?
I have repeated the story for endless times, countless times.
Endless times. So a short version for us to get started with.
Short version is initially I couldn't get to build houses. I was reduced to building compound walls. So we were christened wall makers in a derogatory way by my brother, but the name stuck on. So we couldn't. We were trying to build with mud blocks, and our initial projects, didn't take off as expected. And we were ready, but we had quite a number of people working with us, so we had to take the choice of either continue building menial stuff like compound walls, those kind of stuff. So we started our practice doing compound walls, boundary walls, and stuff like that. So when somebody asked whether we do residences, we jokingly said that no, we are just wall makers, So that is how.
So that's how it came about. So, I'm most excited about the new exhibit you're having at the Barbican in London. And I want to talk to you about that. I know we briefly spoke about it. And I'm going to, Instagram no longer lets us pull up images. So I'm going to show, first I'll let you talk about it. And then maybe I can show the images on my iPad to everyone as to the pieces that they can expect at the show.
When Luke Kemp, one of the forerunners of one of the Barbican exhibition, Luke Kemp organized a Zoom meeting. They were talking about climate crisis and global warming and all those things. At that time, I interrupted and I told them that this has already happened. Kerala has been suffering for the last 3-4 years, as predicted by Madhav Gadgil, that we would suffer the consequences of our injustice towards nature, and true enough. He said this in 2013, and he said within 5 years Kerala would be struck with catastrophe. And 2018 we got our first big flood, and the floods followed in 2019. 2020 didn't happen. Maybe Corona took over, but 2021 again we had the floods. So what basically happened is we literally have been taught a lesson by nature, because we are more near to the equator, so we are the ones who would first be taught a lesson. So we were telling the London people that whatever global crisis you are thinking that is going to happen has already happened to us. So when they asked whether we can bring out some product, something which can show promise for the future, we took the flood clothes. First of all, the textile industry was one of the major industries that was still working in Kerala.
Right.
The hand. So Channamangalam, Save the Loom, and many other organizations were helping us to see what real damage has happened. And we thought that we will take some of the clothes which was damaged, which cannot be sold again. We converted that into furnitures, seatings, screens, and stuff like that. So that is the positive message we try to bring forward. So we had some previous experience of converting cloth into solid concrete kind of structures. So this we merged with mud and lime to make something like that. So it gives a drapery effect. Something which is seen in the sculptures of Michelangelo or Bernini. So yeah, that's what we did.
I think this experiment started with that cafe that you had designed, which had the partitions which were like fabric. Am I not wrong?
Yes. It started in a called Teasme Cafe. The name sounds different, but it was a cafe which we did in Kochi in Kerala, where we first converted fabric into like cloth grid. What we named it, christened it as cloth grid. The name.
Right. So I'm just going to show the pictures, and I'm hoping everyone can see them as well. So this is, I think these are the first few prototypes that have been made, right?
They are literally cloth put on top of the yes, that is the screens. So these are solid screens. They look like cloth, but they are not cloth. They are very strong as marble or concrete or whatever it is. So they are made with lime. Yes. So
this is an interesting. You've left the plywood board on this in the picture.
No, the screens. It is screens. They wanted to fix TV screens because this is a exhibition. So our videos will be, ours and artists who are, like talking about climate crisis. Their videos will be actually played on this format. Yes.
Got it. So it'll be like the sort of base for the screen to show. That's so interesting. I didn't think of that. I thought it was a mistaken picture.
That is my team. No. That picture shows the entire team, including masons and architects and artisans who worked day and night to make this happen.
Wow. And you were telling me about how this this is going to travel around for 3 years. Is that, am I right? I'm just going to show this last picture for everyone to see. This is stunning.
Yeah. Thank you. So it's the exhibition is going to happen for another 3 years. It will start in London, and I think it will over to most of the continents. And it is about climate crisis and climate emergency. So our time on Earth is the name of the exhibition. So it's a world exhibition. But I think we are the only Indians who are participating in it. But it's a worldwide exhibition, so it is going on a tour all around the world.
Lovely. So for 3 years, this is going to go around and it's going to talk about our climate situation. That's incredible. And on this note, I know you've experimented a lot with different materials for this this exhibit. Any material in particular that you discovered? Because I know you play around a lot with different materials. Something you've discovered that you'd like to talk about, or something which has been very interesting, or something new you've started working with.
Recently, we found out that we have been doing with mud bricks all our career, which is actually right now spanning around 15 years to 16 years now. So all this time we have been experimenting with mud and waste, and now we are last 1 or 2 years we have been focusing very hard on tires, waste tires. We believe waste tires are the final product of sustainable construction, because all of us, obviously mobility is the big thing, and tires since invented, tires have been a big part of it, and tires have been discarded in mass. We all know about it. Unfortunately, it's a growing menace. It is a huge pollution. This is something which is understandably the biggest pollutant we can call after many of the other polluting materials. But this is something which is very dangerous, and it is accumulating in bulk. And our country, unfortunately, imports other people's waste also. Other countries' waste tires are also imported by us. Unfortunately, India has turned out into a big dump yard for these people. The one place where I believe, and pyrolysis or other techniques of tire cleansing is a very highly energy consuming or ineffective or non-economical concept. So the best way to to hide away our problem of tires is to build it, use it for. It is a fantastic material. You can fill it with mud, and you can cover it also with mud, so that there is no effect to neutralize the polluting effect of tires completely. and it is aiding in construction, it is aiding in your thermal efficiency, all those things. We are not going to stop building our homes or shelters. Our multitudes need shelters. So definitely, I believe tire is the one linking solution. Like waste is increasing, so is our needs for shelters. So if we can, like combine both, tire is one.
Both.
Yeah. Yes.
So can I ask you more questions about it? When you say you can put mud on it, just elaborate a bit more. What do you mean by how do you really build with tires as your main material and then layer on top of it?
Yeah, the simple thing is the tire as any children. Like whenever you go to some new school, you will find that the teachers or school gives it as an experiment for kids to play with. They often make small seating areas with tire and stuff like that. It's the same process. There is nothing, really. I mean, like it's no pun intended, but we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. Tire building process has been happening. Tire walls have been happening for years. It's just that we are trying to find new aesthetics for such a thing. It often gives a very monotonous look, but we are trying to make arches, domes, and walls with tires. So the same process, whatever you have imagined, is the process of making a tire wall. You fill it with mud and you hammer it, tough.
Right.
Tire is a matrix, holder. So the soil, and you don't have to stabilize the soil. You don't have to add lime. You don't have to add any of those things. So the best part is tire stabilizes the soil, and once it is stable, even plaster over tire, it is fine. Still you are an eco-friendly guy. Even if you do.
That's incredible. I never thought of that, and I think that the detailing has helped a lot. And I know you've also reused, and I'm going to let you talk about it, for a recent project of yours. And I'm going to start with one picture from the project called The Ledge, the new project that you've just completed. Let me just show everyone what this looks like to begin with. So this is a home in Kochi, am I right?
It is in Pyramid. It's not in Kochi. It's 2 hours away from Kochi.
Okay. And let's talk about the facade material that's been used in this. Absolutely gorgeous. Like when I looked at the interiors, I was blown away. What inspired you to create this shape? The material we'll talk about, but I feel like even the shape is so interesting.
Yeah, see, the thing is, many people are often confusing, like how do you attain shapes like this? How do you use materials like this? The truth is, we are still following a pattern which was properly used 40 to 70 years ago. We are still following the brick on brick pattern, most of us, including the built up we are all sitting in, But the truth, technology, the welders and the steel, all these things are enabling us to do much more. It's almost like you are having a Ferrari and you are still driving it at like 20 mile per hour or something like that. You can go at different speeds. You can do a lot with that particular car, if you understand the metaphor I'm trying to say. So similarly, our welding techniques, our construction techniques, right now, unfortunately, are only used for cosmetic cover up on the facades. In actual, we can actually do much more than that. We can actually utilize these waste materials. The entire facade is made up of a combination of casuarina poles. Casuarina poles is nothing but scaffolding platforms which all of our predecessors have been using.
Right. I'm going to show that an evening picture of the home. Yeah, and I think the light flowing through it is so interesting.
It's just tube light. So we have hidden tube lights in the place, like LED tube lights. We just hid it.
That's it. That is the secret. The secret sauce is just basic tube lights.
Yeah. The secret ingredient is no ingredient. We have a lot of modern techniques which can utilize these materials which are considered waste. So achieving these forms are not at all an issue. These are forms which are easily achievable. It is just that our people have not gotten used to such aesthetics, or they feel like, okay, this is going to be too much or more and stuff like that. When in fact your boxes, whatever the normal box build is also a, a, a very difficult thing to do, So
Right.
the modern
because
technique.
And could you just elaborate? I know you spoke about the scaffolding, but for example, just let me go back. I think when people must be asking you how do you get the shape is, I think, also support wise, or just because I think you made it invisible. A lot of the support looks like it's
there is supports. None of these things are standing in the air. Physics has to be followed. So like contrary to popular belief, like it's just that you are aesthetically trying to do things. It's not like there is no support, it is hanging in there. No, we are not trying to do such kind of like any any magic in here, but it's simple aesthetics. If you can make a nice product, and like architects are all capable of doing such things. It's just that we always have a precedent of following somebody, and generally the precedent comes from the West. So so suddenly if the precedent is not there, we generally try to avoid. But architects are supposed to be innovative. We are creative people, so definitely many of our generation will go forward with such creations.
I think that's so true, and I know, and I'm going to ask you a question, which is, a lot of people follow the norms as what they were taught in school or architecture college, and I know you broke out of the norm in that case, and I know you've repeated the story multiple times, but I feel like it's still extremely inspiring because somewhere you stuck to your gut, you stuck to what you believed in, and you had a mentor of sorts, if I would like to call the architect that you're going to talk about, who really was your guiding, your northern star in architecture. So, do you want to just talk about how breaking boundaries or sticking to what you believe in is so important, and how that supported you in your journey till now as well? Because I think more than projects, I feel like people can look at your projects on websites, but to do something different is very hard, and I think you've done that really well.
Again, I have to repeat what I said earlier. When people say something like that, you are doing something very different. No, there have been always innovators. One such innovator is the person whom in our earlier chat I have mentioned. It is Laurie Baker, who was Gandhian architect for all of us, and he has literally paved the way for many of us South Indians to understand that the material texture, the material capability is something which we can all explore. He defied the norms of conventional architecture even during his time, and which was something. So he was the flag bearer of like talking about innovative construction, and people like me could literally climb the ladder he built. So it was easier for us to go one more step beyond and go for such kind of creations. But innovative creations and today's our extremely delicate, sensitive, on the edge scenario requires us to go for some innovative risk. And I believe there are many people like us who are trying to think that okay, we need to take some risk at this point of the career. We cannot take the safe route because the safe route has gotten us to the edge of the cliff. All we can see is the is the big hole below. So we have to think on our feet as much as innovative ways. If you look at the current scenario, like the climate crisis has hit us in such a bad way that almost every South Indian, including Tamil Nadu, including Karnataka, including Kerala, are facing the difficulty of like finding it extremely hot. The average number of times that the temperature has gone beyond 40 degrees is alarming, to say the least. It has just spiked up in 1 year. In the last 2-3 years, the number of times that 41 degrees that most of the states have crossed has gone way beyond the measure of the last 30, 40 years. So we are talking about normal people, and even the rich people. Once the energy crisis hits, you cannot switch on your AC, air conditioning. Then
Right.
we are, both of us are sitting in air conditioned rooms at this point of time. This is not our solution. We had to find new solutions. So innovativeness is the norm today. It is a necessity today.
And let's talk about this, the other project, which I'm just going to show pictures of that. And is there anything unique that we can talk about this project or materials? Because I know you do something different with every project. I don't think you've repeated a shape. I don't think you've repeated a design ever. So
Yeah. This is again a residence called Jackfruit Residence, where we try to make sure that there was a tree at the corner of the jackfruit. It was a jackfruit tree. So we tried to curve it around the particular tree and create a garden. Again, the notion was that, like the south heat wave would be, protected. So these are, designs which actually arise from the site. I am a student of the site. So most of the time, my designs arise out of the site. Yeah, so it had a garden. Yes, it is the compound wall which is literally curving around. So it forms a nice garden. And you know how Indian families are. Indian families love their open yards, but they definitely do not want passerbys to have a look into our privacy. So we had to, literally lift the compound wall into the building to make that happen.
it's incredible. And actually, the staircase is what I find the most fascinating. And I feel like the picture doesn't do justice to the staircase.
I have received a lot of negative comments also on such staircases. So anyway, so this is the natural light that comes through, filters through the ferrocement shells. So this is the type of roofing technology which has been amongst us since 80s. And a mason who was working with me, he is now my contractor. His name is Johnson. He helped me bring it to the construction sector. It was done by some Thomas. Professor N. Ramasamy of Chennai IIT was the person who made these ferrocement shells possible back in 1960s. One of his students was M. Thomas, who brought it to Kerala. But after their time, and it was not a time when there was a lot of Facebook or social media attention. So after their time, fortunately, due to the advent of fast concreting, this technology was lost. And one of my masons actually reminded me that such a technology exists, and he showed me a prototype, and we made some changes, and that is how this roof came.
Oh wow! So that's why you have the sunlight streaming in so beautifully through.
Then kept close, and they will form a normal roof, which is how they were doing. So in this case, I had a staircase, and I wanted the sunlight to filter in. I wanted light to come in. So the shells are individual pieces which we just join and concrete. So in this case, I made sure that they remain separate. So another project called Sirath also explores such a idea of the roof.
The top, right? That's what we're talking about right there. Lovely. And everyone looks at you as this rock star of sustainable design and architecture. And I think rock star is, you're laughing, but it's the only word I can think of. Award-winning, yes, but I would call you a rock star sustainable design architect, sustainable architecture. Everyone wants to work with you. We get emails and we get DMs and messages after we've featured a project. So how does someone come and experience the Vinu Daniel magic or learn from you? Please tell everyone. I can see I love yous flooding at the bottom. I just looked at the comments and I saw that, and I was a little taken aback with that.
Yeah. The thing is, my initial years and even today, I faced a lot of criticism a lot of criticism that another 1,000 years of I love you also wouldn't actually give me, the amount of negative this thing I received at the first half of my career is simply, something, like which will keep me grounded for the rest of my life. I'm pretty sure about that. So thank you for the comments, compliments. Whatever is called today as something like a attributed to an individual, Vinu Daniel or whatever it is, the truth is there is no point of having one person. I mean, like the entire fraternity should change is what I believe. Entire fraternity, thankfully, I am seeing a lot of changes, a lot of people, a lot of young individuals. All this love is something which I want to reciprocate as much as possible. A lot of them are now being bold. That is the only thing we want as an attitude today, because if our young generation, if the now generation is not bold, if they are not going forward to be a fool, making themselves a fool in front of others, then like we cannot prosper further. We cannot go back in the same old shoes as our predecessors were. We have to go forward. We might make ourselves a fool amongst our peers and like friends and family, but still I love the fact that like when whatever you can call today as Vinu Daniel architecture, yesterday was some losers architecture at that point of time. So many of the architects, I almost daily I find some young architects who are talking about it. You are very valuable. You have to fight through this problems which you are facing. Your economic problems. Architects generally do not have good economic, you know. But you had to fight through. Your mistakes are going to be the golden paths of future. So,
No, but coming back to my question is, I know you go from site to site.
yes.
Wallmakers doesn't have an official office address. So in that sense, how does someone learn from you? How does someone experience it? And also, I'd love to talk about doing projects outside South India and, in Maharashtra and Delhi, because, there are a lot of clients who need to be exposed and would like to, as I call it, the Vinu magic, like to experience the Vinu magic.
There are a lot of architects there are a lot of people who are actually, we are doing a lot of projects we are doing in Maharashtra. We are doing projects in Gujarat for last 2-3 years. We have been doing projects in Gujarat. We are doing projects in all over the place, to be honest. What I'm trying to do is we are trying to create a new generation of architects who have been working with me. They are all starting their own private practice, and I am acting as an advisor to them, so that like, because an individual, like as you said, chasing an individual may be a difficult thing, and I myself is not very how to say, not very social in those things. People like a lot of people like you and the media are the ones who are helping me in this thing to reach out to people. Otherwise, I generally prefer to have my own setup and like whatever I build. A lot of architects, we are trying to train them into this scenario where they are bold in their approach. They have a hands-on approach as well as the computer. Like we need the computer. We need all the softwares we can have, because making a mistake on software is much better than making it on site. So all those, I want my people armed, especially architects, armed with all those things, and work alongside with their fellow brethren. To fellow brethren means the masons, the contractors. Right now, architects are paper pushing. We have to change that. So it's not something which an individual can do. I think it's a joint effort. There are a lot of teachers who are telling their students to go learn here and there and everything. There are a lot of people who are doing workshops, all these things. Yeah. So it's great. So you are reading the.
I was reading the comments, yeah, because they were all very interesting. They were very interesting. But I was reading an interview you gave, and in one of them you said that once you reached site and you actually started, working with the masons, so you actually started mixing the concrete, you started mixing the mud, and I would love for you to talk about that, because I think that's such a.
I tried to be the paper pusher and stuff like that, but then my workers didn't know how to make mud mortar. I tried this thing, and I was like, "Eddie, you told me that you know to make with mud buildings and everything, no?" And then this fellow is saying, "No, sir, I only work with fire brick. I don't know how to make mud mortar." So then I had to get my hands dirty. So originally this was not intended, I wanted to save myself from all the manual labor trouble. But then the biggest plus or positive that happened in that engagement was that I started learning a lot about my material while I was working with it. I started to learn who my real guru is. So my real guru is that compound wall, actually, in truth, those materials. And I started to understand camaraderie with the mason. I started to understand that there is it's not just a cash transfer relationship that should exist between you and your mason. It shouldn't be just like you follow me, I tell you the orders and everything. It should be something more like a teacher-student relationship. Sometimes you are the teacher and the mason is the students most of the times, but sometimes they are the teachers. They tell you, Anna, this doesn't work. Can I try something? And you find it wonderful to go to site and you get involved with such people. To be honestly truthful, I find I'm becoming more and more a social outcast because of that particular factor. Because I feel like a lot of things which I have to discuss, probably I can discuss with a welder, with a mason, with a fellow architect, rather than, say in other places. This is something I feel.
So if we put you in a party, basically you're like, I have nothing to talk to people in a party, but here on site I have a lot more to say.
What say to them in a party, I can show some dance moves or something like that. But and I cannot say that word in Insta Live, but I'm really so bad in all those things, but some of my great colleagues and contemporaries have always been made sure that I meet with all sections of society. So kudos to architects and forward and design perspective. So many people are there who literally, media especially, who push me into like interaction with other people, which otherwise I feel I'm a very very odd person in that sense.
No, not at all. I think the first time we spoke, we spoke for 40 minutes, probably longer than our live session today. So I don't think that's the case at all. It's just your passion that kind of drives you through all of it. So we've had a lot of people say any projects in Rajasthan, Calcutta, so please do a workshop in North India. So I'm going to leave that to you and your team to reply to those and hopefully do something for the North and, maybe do some workshops or lives.
Very often I use, when I come to Gujarat, I use the library of set, like before Corona. But now it's a bit difficult because of the Corona regulations and stuff like that. And they started barricading their gates. Otherwise, I would sneak into their library and keep working there, So very often, some of the professors are found me out, and like I gave a lecture because of Surya sir told me to give a lecture, and there was also a few people who told me to give lectures. So we do that also. So we are interacting with every crowd that is possible, and thankfully, thanks to social media, this is more widespread than I could ever. Thanks again.
And what I asked you last time is, when are we doing an exhibit for India? And that I'm going to call you up about separately and trouble you about that later.
Do it, we should definitely do it because it is the need of the hour that we find alternates in our life, So.
And then people can interact with you more, because I know on your own you won't come. So I'll have to invite you and tell you to come to Bombay, only then will you come. So I only see that route as being something that can probably work out. So on that last note, any final advice that you have for all the architects, designers who are listening into the conversation? I know you've spoken about your journey, you've spoken about material, but your one key takeaway, or it could be sustainable material, anything that you'd like to talk about right now.
Actually, everybody knows what really sustainable is, and I don't have to give them any lessons regarding that. The one thing which I am sure that many of the new generation designers, architects, civil engineers, or even all sorts of they are facing, creative people, they are facing is the hurdles in front of them. So do not pause in front of these hurdles, jump over them. Whatever might come, it is say you are really necessary. Your solutions or your mistakes are really necessary for us to move on. Whatever the safe zone is, that is not going to help us anymore. So wherever you are going, whatever you are doing, but however risky you are doing it, go for it, do it, because like that is how you learn. You learn through your mistakes. It's okay to be isolated and like criticized. It's fine.
Any one mistake, because I think we all learn from our mistakes. Any one mistake which it maybe recently that has happened, and you'd like to talk about that.
Lot of mistakes has happened. Every mistake happen, like mistakes happen that ended up in court and so whatnot. I have gone through all sorts of things in my career. So these are mistakes are to be made. So recent ones are not that huge, but initial times and all like it was quite quite something which I don't think I should say out in
that we can have an offline conversation about that.
Mistakes, in life, in work, full mistakes. So don't worry about that. Keep doing it.
Keep going. I think that's a really nice note to end this conversation at. But thank you so much, Vinu, for talking to us today, for shedding so much light on such interesting factors about sustainable design practices. I feel like it's the need of the hour right now. And thank you so much for joining us. I know it was hard for us to get you for this time, for today. It was a tough journey, but we're here and it was really nice speaking to you. And I thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me. It's been a great honor and pleasure. Thank you so much.
And I will see you soon in Bombay.
Don't worry, 100%.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vinu. Bye.